Hi there. So can we talk about perimenopause for a minute? I mean, I talk about this a lot in my business, but I want to talk to you about my personal experience. So more recently, and I'm talking about mostly last year, I would wake at 3 a.m. consistently, always to go to the loo, just the once, and then my mind would just start to turn and spin and spiral, and I would start to think about everything and anything to worry about, from my own health to my husband's health to worrying about the kids, worrying about lots of things that I could not control, like the world. And this was, a repetitive thing that would happen night after night, and it was driving me absolutely crazy. Now, other symptoms that I was experiencing was hair shedding, and I had a bit of a history with the hair shedding. It started, during lockdown, actually. But then other changes, which were really signaling to me that my body is changing. I'm going through the transition. And there were definitely periods where I really didn't recognize myself. I didn't recognize my response to things. I felt more stressed about things than I would normally. I felt more overwhelmed than I would normally. I've had this my whole life, to be fair, but I get incredibly irritated with eating noises. I do believe it's called mysonomia. And my kids and my husband think it's hilarious, because if they are anywhere near me and I can hear them eating, it just is like the most irritating thing in the world. And of course, now going through perimenopause, it is magnified times 50. So yeah, they find that hilarious. Not very funny for me, of course. And it is, other things. Now, the way this was impacting my daily life, was very interesting to me. Now, I have a fitness and wellness business. I'm very regular with my strength training. I am, mostly dialed in, with my nutrition and my healthy habits. I'm human, I'm not perfect. I really realized when I let certain lifestyle factors really slip. Last year, lots of 50ths, a lot of drinking, a lot of fun, and not a lot of recovery time. I really just didn't give myself a lot of time to recover. I was hustling, working hard, being a mum, being all the things, managing this house, and managing all the 101 things on my list that never seemed to get done. Anyway, it was very interesting to me how when I do let things slip, how much more it affects my symptoms of perimenopause. Now, a lot of my clients that I work with don't necessarily realize that the symptoms that they're going through are linked to perimenopause. Now, for me, it first started during lockdown, when the world was already very tumultuous, uncertain times. My kids were little, homeschooling and building a business. My husband was going through a very stressful time, so we had strain within our relationship that we had to handle, and we handled it well. But look, we had a tough time of weathering that storm, as did many. And I feel like that stress accelerated my perimenopause symptoms. I'm 48 now, so how long ago was that? Quite a while ago. And I was experiencing hair shedding and sleep disturbances, libido changes. What else? Heart palpitations. But they weren't that often. It was just sort of now and then. By the way, I have actually worked out. I'm just in my robe because it's chilly and it's comfortable. And anyway, over time, since then, certain big life things have happened, which seems to be a really common theme with a lot of people that I work with. From 40 to 60, big life events happen. Either big career shifts to perhaps a really high-level role, or leaving a job to start their own business, or leaving their relationship, divorce, or moving house, moving countries, or other things, other tragedies, aging parents, some really big, chunky responsibilities that add more weight to an already changing body that is already suffering stress physically because of the transition, of the hormone transitions that we're going through. And, since COVID, we renovated our house, we sold it, we moved to the country, we were supposed to be moving to New York before lockdown happened, and of course that was a massive big U-turn, which was really, really hard for my husband. He had to pivot and refocus back on his work in the UK, which he did very well, but it was hard, very, very challenging for him. And pulled the kids out of school, put them in a new one. We took on, this massive renovation with this 350-year-old barn, and being so close to Glastonbury Festival, we saw an opportunity there as well. And so big changes, very positive, amazing, but all of these changes does bring stress. So my perimenopause symptoms accelerated, despite the fact that I knew what was happening. It just kind of seemed to happen what felt like overnight, like my stress response, my sleep disturbances, my hair loss, and my heart palpitations. Now, when I dialed in my recovery, really prioritized my sleep, stopped drinking so much, focused on my nutrition to how I know supports my hormones, my symptoms would absolutely reduce quite significantly. And of course, stress was the number one massive lever which would just throw everything off. Everything off. But the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I went through quite a journey last year, and I decided that I wanted to, I think because I was waking up in the morning worrying about my health, worrying about all these symptoms, knowing that it's probably perimenopause, but then also worrying maybe it's not, maybe it's this, blah, 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 blah. And so I decided to just get the data to be sure. So I did this round of testing for my bloods, for my heart, for my everything, my hormones. And when I got the results initially, it was confirming that there was some underlying inflammation from stress, from overdoing it last year, from burning the candle, not building recovery, and my nervous system was shot. My hormones weren't happy, and I decided to go, okay, I'm going to follow my New Year 6-week program exactly as it's designed. Now, obviously, I run these things and I coach everyone, but I don't necessarily myself implement every single step that I coach people. I mean, that's quite common, right? I do so many of these. So I decided to follow it as it was designed. I retested myself 6 weeks later. My HRV, which was running very low for about a year, I'll show you the graph, was sort of running around 30, 40, which is really not good for someone who is, a fitness professional. Shot up to 80, 90 consistently after 6 weeks. My cholesterol, my inflammation markers were all back in optimum, and my, health overall with this comprehensive testing was signaling that whatever I was doing had massively changed the needle, moved the needle, and my symptoms were so much better. Sleeping better, better focus, not reacting so much, understanding my hormones better in the sense of how to cope day to day around my cycle. Oh my God, what a change. What a change. And very, very interesting because look, perimenopause is an ever evolving thing. We feel like we've nailed it and then something else gets added. And it just, and you're like, oh my God. But that is part of the journey, and we do need to focus on the core pillars of lifestyle health. So strength training, good nutrition, rest, recover as hard as you play, as you work, as you train. Like my big word for this year was recovery, and I really realize how important stress management, true rest, like real down regulation of our nervous system, how important it is. And the real processing of our emotions, our emotional regulation, but weaving in a lifestyle to support your infrastructure. Your health is everything. It's not a luxury. So why am I telling you all this? I just wanted to share it with you because, I understand how much our physical health and how this also affects how we perceive the world, how we perceive ourselves, our mental health, how this affects us at work, our relationships, being a mum, my patients, everything. I perform better now. I feel more calm. I feel more balanced, not so reactionary about the eating noises, although that's always going to bother me. But, I realize how much it impacts me personally. And as a coach, I am living the journey myself. And I realize that, really, truly know that that these lifestyle factors can make a big difference in your life and how you feel. And if you're someone who has been taking HRT, for example, and thought that was going to be the magic pill, and perhaps it's not been, and you're not doing the work on your physical strength, muscle, nutrition, anti-inflammatory, sleep, recovery, etc. If you're not doing this work, and I'm not saying this is like a long list of, it's a whole full-time job to do this. No, this is part of your lifestyle, like brushing your teeth. Then you'll find that the efficacy of that HRT will not work as well anyway. You need these core pillars for that to work. Same with supplements. They're not there to, change or to replace the core foundation of your lifestyle. A supplement's not going to replace strength training. It's going to support and complement it. So my point today is, if you feel like this is you, you've been feeling the feels and how it's impacting you in your work, in your relationships, in anything that you're doing, how you're seeing and feeling about yourself in particular, like confidence, then I really invite you to come and join us at Body by Pieta, because we are such an incredible, amazing group of women who are living the journey, who are high-level professionals, business owners, busy people, juggling it all, in all these different capacities, and, are living the journey of this hormonal transition, and education and support and having a structure to follow that is actually going to move the needle is such a sigh of relief. It's like, oh, thank goodness. And I feel so blessed that, my business has also become my own solution. Yeah, so I wanted to share that with you. It's 13 minutes of blah, 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 but important. Anyway, we're starting a new 6-week challenge on Monday, April the 20th, and this is an all-encompassing spring forward 6-week program which has everything that you need to feel better. Your strength training, your mobility, your mindset, manifestation, nutrition guidance, recipes if you want them. Accountability is massive, and our incredible community. And most people stay, not just for the 6 weeks, they stay for much longer, because they realize, that 6 weeks is one amazing kickstart that they never want to end, because they learn so much more about themselves, the path, the things that resonate and work for them as an individual, and the fact that me and you will have a really close relationship. I will help you. I will be your best partner in crime to go through all the feels, to figure out what to do next, to refer you to whoever you need. It's like having a personal trainer in your back pocket, where you can message and you can ask questions and you've got someone to talk to. Is incredibly relieving and powerful, and I want to offer that to you. As I sit here with my coffee and my dressing gown on this fine, rainy Wednesday. My kids are still in bed. They're still on Easter holiday, and we start on Monday. new routine, spring forward. Come join us. If you're not sure, let's chat. Loads of love.